So you're thinking about moving to Niceville, Florida, and you want to know what cost of living looks like down here. Well, don't worry, we've got you covered with all things cost of living, everything from housing prices, rental prices, utilities, healthcare. We even talk about the going out to eat aspect of things and what that looks like. So anyway, stick around. What is up? This is Andrew Iremonger from, you guessed it, the Emerald Group out here in the Emerald Coast. So you want to know everything about Niceville and the cost of living. You've definitely come to the right channel. We talk about that and all the other surrounding areas here on the Emerald Coast. So stick around, slap that subscribe button, tickle that little bell so that you'll be notified every single time we do a new video. We get calls all the time of people wanting to move here to Niceville and the surrounding areas, and we absolutely love every single inquiry we get. So if you're thinking about moving here to Niceville or any part of the Emerald Coast, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, comment down below, go to our Facebook, send us a carrier pigeon, whatever you want to get a hold of us, and we've got your back when it comes to moving to Niceville and the Emerald Coast. So we came up with a list of the most important things you need to know when it comes to cost of living here in Niceville, Florida. So stick around, we're gonna jump right into it, but first I want you to stick around all the way till the end for when we start comparing Niceville to some of the biggest cities in our country. I think it'll shock you. First and foremost, as a realtor, I've got to talk about housing prices and just get that out of the way. So our average price here in Niceville, Florida is $316,000. Compare that to the national average of $272,400. We're not that far off, but we are just a little bit above the national average. Now the average single family home in California was $579,770. And in Massachusetts, it was $395,000. In Maryland, it was $295,000. And in New York, it was $301,000, all according to the National Association of Realtors. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not the worst pricing we could have. As far as renting out here in Niceville, the rents actually aren't that bad either. Our average rental price for a 3-bedroom home is $1,479. That's $1,479, when the average is about $1,537. And as far as a 4-bedroom, you can expect to pay about $1,840. Whereas the average is about $1,791, so it's about on par. Now let's jump into utilities. So for an average 1,600 to 2,000 square foot home, you can expect to pay around $100 a month for your electricity in some of the cooler months. But as soon as it starts getting hotter, you know, your May, June, July, and August, you're gonna be cranking that AC up, trying to keep the temperature down. You can expect your bill to easily exceed $150, maybe even creep up on $200 per month, depending on how cold you like it in your home. Now, when it comes to your trash, your water, your sewer, you can expect about $60, give or take there. And your internet bill is around $60 out here for a pretty decent plan. And if you're fortunate enough to have gas, that's gonna knock your electricity bill down a little bit, and it's going to run you about $20 to $40 most of the time. Again, depending on how many people are in your home. So now let's slide away from the home a little bit and talk about gas prices, because that's important too. Now, right now, our average gas price is like $1.50 per gallon, but we're right in the middle of COVID-19, so we can't use that at face value. So what I did is I looked back in January, and they were approximately $2.50, give or take in the area a little bit, but that's about the average gas price that we'll see. So I expect that to be the same whenever this whole thing blows back over and gas prices stabilize. Now, when it comes to going out for a meal, you can expect a standard lunch to be, with tip, if you go to a little sit-down place and don't order any drinks, just a standard meal, about $12, maybe up to $15 with tip, right? But if you decide to go out in Niceville, of course, depending on which restaurant you go to, some are more expensive than others, but the average you can expect with a spouse, a couple of drinks, a couple of laughs, maybe a dessert or two, to run you about $50 to $60 with tip. All right, let's talk groceries. According to Numbeo.com, across the country, the average is about $341 per person on a standard Western diet. Well, out here in Okaloosa County, it actually runs closer to $300. For a family of 4, that's a savings of approximately $172 for the month, which is pretty good. Now, our sales tax out here is 6.5%. You're gonna spend 6.5% on top of whatever you're buying almost everywhere you go. The state's gonna take 6% of that, the county's gonna take 0.5. But here's the catch. We have no income tax here in the state of Florida, none. The state does not take a dollar from your income, which is pretty good. Healthcare will run approximately $450 per month, which basically looks like it's kind of right about average for the rest of the country. Now for my favorite part of this video, hold on, I wanna make sure I get the numbers right. I've got my notes here. We're comparing Niceville, Florida to some of the biggest cities here in the country. This is my favorite part of the whole video because I get to sit there and click on different cities and just see where we compare to the rest of the country. And I think that's pretty cool. So first and foremost, we're going to talk about Tallahassee, Florida, our own capital here in Niceville. It's actually 13.4% more expensive to live in Niceville than it is our own capital, which is kind of interesting. In Atlanta, it's basically a wash. It's 0.7 less expensive to live there over Niceville, Florida, which is pretty cool. Now we go a little bit further west and we talk about Austin, Texas. Austin is about 10.2% more expensive, so about 10% more expensive than Niceville. And in Los Angeles, over there on the other coast, it's about 60% more expensive to live in that beautiful city versus this one. And of course, we can't leave out New York, where it is 72, almost 73% more expensive to live in New York. But of course, we expect that. New York's an expensive place. These bigger cities are always more expensive, but it's kind of cool to put that in comparison just to see exactly where we stand. Don't forget that if you are moving to Niceville, Florida, or anywhere here on the Emerald Coast, that we can help. So give us a call, send us a text, an email, a carrier pigeon, smoke signals, a paper airplane with a note on it, comment down below, Facebook, however you want to get a hold of us, we will be there for you to get your back. And that's all it for this week's video. We'll see you next week. See ya.